Are you skipping your post-workout snack in an attempt to lose weight? Are you constantly exhausted after training and even the next day? Are you sick of spinning your wheels trying to build muscle? You're not alone. In fact, a study of 1,000 female athletes found that almost half of them were undereating. And skipping a post-workout snack is one of the ways that you can be undereating. In today's episode, I'm going to break down why you need to grab a post-workout snack, what you should be eating, when you should be eating, and what my favorite post-workout snacks are. Grab a pen and paper to take some notes because you're not going to want to miss this one. Let's dig in. So today we're talking all about post-workout fueling. If you are skipping your post-workout snack or meal, let me tell you, you are really missing out as a female athlete. Back when I was in college studying to become a dietitian, my professor showed this chart of what happens to your muscle mass when you eat a post-workout snack versus when you skip a post-workout snack. And let me tell you, what I saw was really astounding. If I had this chart to show you right now, I would really be so happy because it's really eye-opening. So if you eat within 30 minutes of finishing a workout, your ability to build muscle is significantly higher than if you skipped your post-workout snack. If you skip your post-workout snack, your ability to build muscle really just kind of like fizzles out. The longer that you wait from your workout to eat, the more your ability to build that muscle is going to decrease. So if you are waiting a couple hours before you eat after your training session, like I said, you're really missing out. You're really missing out on your body's ability to build muscle. And let me tell you, if you are trying to burn fat, you want that muscle there because that muscle is going to in turn give you a longer calorie burn over time, which is then going to help you to lose body fat. So it seems like the correct answer would be to not eat after training because, hey, my body doesn't really have a whole lot left to burn, so it's just going to burn off my body fat. But that's not actually how your body works because your body is way smarter than that, and your body wants to keep you alive and do the least amount of work possible. So if you actually feed it and give it what it needs, it's going to build muscle, and that muscle in turn is going to help to burn body fat. So, like I said, if you are not eating after a workout, I really hope today's episode changes your mind on that. So, during a workout, your muscles really become broken down and depleted. So your body's going to create little rips and tears in your muscles from training, and consuming food and drink after a training session is going to put back into your body what your body has taken out. So essentially it's going to fill in those little rips and tears, and that allows your muscles to be built back up. And then you get to adapt to your training. So you essentially get better. You're going to boost your performance, but then it's also going to help you to build muscle. And like I said, if you are trying to lose body fat, that's going to help you with losing body fat because you're building muscle, and muscle is going to help to burn body fat. Ultimately, this is also going to help you to perform better because when you have more muscle, muscle is going to help to boost power. So it's going to make you better at your sport. So you will perform better for next time, and you won't feel like garbage the next day either. So skipping a recovery meal or snack after training is like driving your car until it's on empty and then not filling back up the tank. That just sounds stupid, right? You're going on a road trip, you drive it till empty, and then you don't fill it back up, but you expect to go somewhere. It's not going to work. Your car's not going to work. So why would you expect your body to do the same thing? It's not going to work. So let's talk about some guidelines that you need to follow with your post-workout snack. Number one, and this is especially true for female athletes, is to eat within 30 minutes after a training session. Maximum 60 minutes, but you're going to get the most benefit if you eat within 30 minutes. And this is going to be muscle protein synthesis, which is basically a fancy way of saying muscle gain and repair. So your muscles are most like a sponge after a training session. And so when you eat immediately after a training session, your muscles soak up all those nutrients, particularly protein and carbohydrates, and it helps to put back into your body what your body has taken out. So it's going to put back into your glycogen stores, the glycogen that your body has taken out, but also it's going to help to put that protein, those amino acids, back into your muscles that your body has taken out and help you to build muscle and adapt to your training. Number two, if you are doing 2-a-day workouts, this is really, really important that you are eating as soon as you can get food into your mouth so that you are well fueled for the next training session. That's really a topic for another episode, which I actually am going to cover pretty soon in the next couple weeks. So just look out for that episode on 2-a-day trainings. But you really need to make sure that you are eating as soon as possible so that you are well fed for your next training session. And even if you have your next training session the next day, it's really important to make sure that you are well fed for that next training session. Number 3 is making sure that you are getting in a combination of carbohydrates and protein. So I know we talk a lot about protein on this podcast, and I know that there's so much information out there now about protein, and protein is important, but I will say it's not the only thing. You need carbohydrates too. So let me break this down for you. Your body is going to have stores of carbohydrates in your body. That's going to be between your liver and your muscle. So your body's going to store carbohydrates in your liver and in your muscle, and that's called glycogen. So glycogen is going to be there as kind of this, extra storage of carbohydrates for when your body needs it during your next training session. And if you are not eating after your training session, you're not putting back that glycogen, because remember, our muscles are like a sponge. We're not putting back that glycogen into those stores for our next training session. So that means our next training session is really not going to be that great. You're going to be dragging yourself through and you're going to feel like garbage. So we want to make sure that we're eating plenty of carbohydrates after our training session so that we can fill up our glycogen stores. Now, protein, like I said, is important as well. And so we're creating those little rips and tears in our muscles. We need to fill that back in with protein. So we want to make sure that we are focusing on carbohydrates and protein. Guideline number 4 is to not eat a lot of fat. So fat is going to slow down the digestion of your food, and it's actually going to kind of slow down the process of recovering from your workout. So that doesn't mean you can't have any fat in your post-workout snack, but what that does mean is we don't want to have like a greasy cheeseburger after our training session, because that's a lot of fat. And that's going to slow down the digestion of our food, and it's going to take longer for our bodies to recover. So we want to focus more on carbohydrates and protein, and we want to do this in a ratio of 3-1. So 3 carbohydrates to 1 protein. So easy, simple math. If you're like, hold on a second, I'm not good at math, I don't even know what that means. That means if you have 30 grams of carbohydrates, you need 10 grams of protein. If you have 60 grams of carbohydrates that you need to eat after a training, then 20 grams of protein is where you need to be on the protein front. So your amount is really going to change a little bit depending on different factors like your age, what your training level looks like, what your intensity was, things along those lines. But I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis of what this looks like for somebody that is about 150 pounds. If you're a 150-pound female athlete, carbs immediately after training, you're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about mid-60s to about 80 grams of carbohydrates. So that would mean that you need to be taking in about 20 to 25 grams of protein after your training session. Now, let me give you another example. Maybe you're 100 pounds. So that would mean your carbohydrates need to be about 45 to about 55 grams of carbohydrates after a training session. Now your protein would be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 grams of protein. So you get the idea. You want 3-1 from carbohydrates to protein, but you need both. Your fat, I would really try to keep it no more than 10 grams of fat for that post-workout snack. The lower, probably the better, because again, it's going to slow down the digestion of everything, and that's going to slow down recovery. And we want recovery to be fast because we want to get everything into your system as quickly as possible. So if you're listening to this and let's say you're in perimenopause, menopause stage, you could reduce these carbohydrates a little bit. And that's what I'm saying. These numbers are going to be a little bit variable just depending on different factors. So if this is something that you're not really sure of, go ahead and set up an appointment with me and we can figure this out specifically for you. But just know the older that you get, your carbohydrate needs are going to decrease a little bit. When you are younger, carbohydrate needs are going to be higher. So some things that you want to consider with your post-workout snack is that carbohydrates strictly from fruit and fruit juices and things like sodas are going to be really high in fructose, and those while they are, very quickly absorbed, they're not going to be as effective in restoring your muscle glycogen as opposed to a combination of sugars. So what I mean is doing something like with maybe some granola or some carbohydrates from dairy or, from bread or something along those lines, so that you're getting a combination of carbohydrates, because all different carbohydrates, in their scientific names, actually sugar, are going to be absorbed at different rates. So you want some that are quick digesting and some that are a little bit more slow digesting. Number two, if you're not sure about your protein source, know that whey, which is found in dairy, also you can get a whey protein powder, but it is found in dairy, is going to be far superior in muscle synthesis due to the leucine content. Leucine is amino acid, and that amino acid is kind of like a light switch. It helps to flip on muscle building. So if you are avoiding milk, soy is going to be your next option. That is going to be preferred over something like a pea protein or brown rice protein or something of that nature. Okay, so let's talk about what my favorite snacks are post-workout. Number one is very simple: Greek yogurt, fruit, and granola. So basically a parfait. So I would suggest using a non-fat Greek yogurt here, because again, you don't want a lot of fat after a workout. So you can either use plain Greek yogurt if that's your preference, or you can use a flavored one. The flavored one is going to give you a little bit more carbohydrates, but also it's going to give you some more sugar. So if you are, a little bit older listening to this and you're having a hard time maintaining your weight or your body composition, you may not want that extra sugar in there. So Greek yogurt, non-fat, with some fruit. I personally like berries. That's my favorite, or I'll do pineapple or mango. And then I just do a little bit of granola on top. It depends on what granola I have. Sometimes I use my own granola, which I make, which is my favorite. And I will link that below for you in the show notes, my olive oil granola. But sometimes, I don't get around to making it. So I will just use either like Nature Valley protein granola or whatever other granola I can find is completely fine. My next favorite snack is either I'll do a protein shake with a handful of berries on the side, probably more like 2 handfuls of berries on the side. And I might do a little bit of peanut butter in there just to kind of give me a little bit more calories. You can also blend this together into a smoothie if you want to do that. So I'm getting some carbohydrates from my berries, then my protein shake is going to, or the protein powder is going to give me some protein. And what I would suggest doing if you're making this into a smoothie and you're not drinking the protein shake separately from the berries, is I would actually add in a little bit of oatmeal to your smoothie, because that's going to give you a mix of carbohydrates in there. So you're not getting just the fruit as your sole source of carbohydrates. Now, another option that you could do is have the protein shake with berries and then a handful of crackers on the side. Number 3 is overnight oats with milk, and then I'll put in a half a scoop of protein powder, because I'm still getting some protein from my milk and a little bit from the oats, but I'm getting carbohydrates from the oats, I'm getting carbohydrates from the berries, and now I'm getting the protein from the protein powder and everything else that I mentioned. So this is something that I'll make at night. Sometimes I even make a big batch of it, so I have a couple servings of it. I'll even do this for breakfast sometimes because it's super easy in the morning. But you just mix together, maybe like a half a cup of oats, pour enough milk just to cover the oats, mix in your protein powder, and then put it in the refrigerator. I put it in a mason jar. It's super easy. And then I'll just sprinkle some berries on top in the morning and I'm ready to go. These are my favorite post-workout snacks. And let me say this. If you work out in the evening and you're going to eat dinner after your training session and you're going to eat within 30 minutes, then you can go ahead and skip a post-workout snack and just skip on ahead to your dinner. As long as you are getting all the components in there that you need, that is completely fine. If you know that you're going to eat dinner, but you're not going to be able to eat within 30 minutes, then I would suggest having a small post-workout snack and then go ahead and eat your dinner when you get home. So let's kind of recap here on what you need to do in terms of post-workout fueling. 1 is eat within 30 minutes after your training session. Number 2, make sure that you are really focusing on getting in food immediately after, especially if you're doing 2-a-day trainings. 3, a 3-to-1 ratio of carbohydrates to protein, and number 4, low in fat. If you have additional questions about post-workout fueling, or you have some other snacks that you love, please head on over to my Facebook group, Female Sports Nutrition. I will drop the link below for you and share it in the Facebook group. We love to share tips and ideas in that group so we can all learn from each other.